Mr. Rude can't possibly cover up this latest blemish.
Makeup artist Lily Fontana, who took to Facebook to vent over her treatment at the hands of Prime Minister Kevin Rudd on Wednesday night.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to Media Watch. Of course, the story of rude Mr. Rudd was bound to make it into the papers. It's real, water-cooler stuff and a shoo-in for the gossip columns. But should the opinion of a Brisbane makeup artist really be front-page news? Sydney's Daily Telegraph reckoned the answer was yes. And having splashed Mr. Rude on the cover, it brought us the full, shocking scandal in a double-page spread inside.
No amount of makeup can conceal rude Rudd.
And with such a golden opportunity to bash the man they hate, the telly was never going to stop at that. Nor was Miranda Devine, who was given the chance to sink the slipper right up the front of the paper.
Joining the dots reveals PM's prickly personality.
But even Ms. Devine's comments didn't mark the end of it. Further back in the book, the paper's national political editor, Simon Benson, took up another full page with a frank assessment of Mr. Rudd's character.
Cracks now appearing in Kevin's makeup.
And in the middle of the paper, there was even more, with a collection of quotes and comments from the makeup artist and a friend, and also from Malcolm Turnbull and Philip Ruddock, none of whom had witnessed the incident, but who were all happy to be given a free kick. And naturally, it was then capped off with an editorial repeating the criticisms that the telly's reporters and columnists had already made.
Rude reminder of Rudd's makeup.
For those of you who somehow missed this earth-shattering story, it stemmed from a post on Facebook in which makeup artist Lily Fontana told her friends,
Just finished doing Kevin Rudd and Tony Abbott's makeup for the People's Forum at the Broncos Leagues Club. One of them was absolutely lovely, engaged in genuine conversation with me, acknowledged that I had a job to do and was very appreciative. The other did the exact opposite. Oh boy, I've never had anyone treat me so badly whilst trying to do my job. Political opinions aside, from one human being to another, Mr. Abbott, you win hands down.
And what a win it was. So excited was the Telegraph by this put-down of the PM that it quoted Ms. Fontana's message word for word no less than 5 times. Here, 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 here and here. With a shortened version here to make it 6. So how did the telly justify hammering this trivial story so hard? Well, first, because
Character is a vital component in a Prime Minister.
And second, because, according to the telly's prosecutors,
They fit a pattern of allegedly unpleasant behaviour by Rudd towards others.
they being things that Rudd has done before. And sure enough, each of the telly's damning articles cited a list of previous convictions for bad behaviour, starting with 4 references to Rudd's famous sandwich spit.
In 2009, he'd reduced a RAAF flight attendant to tears during a dispute about a sandwich.
That was followed by 3 reminders of Kevin's notorious hairdryer gate.
Blowing up over a hairdryer in Afghanistan.
Then came 2 references to Rudd's famous...
Foul-mouthed temper tantrums caught on camera.
And finally, there was 1 reminder from Miranda Devine that a colleague had once called Rudd
A psychopath.
Now, given that Kevin Rudd is running a presidential-style campaign and that Labor has been attacking Tony Abbott's personality, the PM can hardly complain if voters and the media judge Rudd on his character. But this is character assassination. The telly ran 5 deeply negative stories about the same incident, all built on the opinion of one woman who was with the Prime Minister for a few minutes. Rudd says he didn't actually speak to her. And even the telly's Simon Benson accepts that the claim he was rude to her is disputed.
Sources in the room say Rudd wasn't rude to her at all. In fact, he didn't say a word apart from thank you when she finished.
So, Lily Fontana's opinion is looking like a flimsy excuse for one big story, let alone 5 of the same. And it gets even flimsier when you read the telly's Facebook page with reactions from readers, one of whom is a fellow makeup artist.
I've worked on jobs where Kevin Rudd has been involved in. Not once was he rude. This is just another ploy to tarnish the PM.
I had the unfortunate pleasure of sitting next to Mr. Abbott on a flight to Brisbane. I very politely asked him a question on gay marriage, and he was a rude, arrogant pig. We all have our stories to tell. Maybe the Telegraph should spend less time on spin and more on hiring some real journalists.
So, given that there are doubts about this latest offence, what about Rudd's previous convictions, such as the infamous hairdryer explosion? Well, according to News Corp Australia's own political correspondent Malcolm Farr, that never happened. Almost as soon as the Tele stories were published, he tweeted,
The story of Rudd and the hairdryer in Afghanistan stays alive even though totally untrue, denied by those there, including journalists.
Last Friday morning, when the Daily Telegraph hit the streets, Kevin Rudd was campaigning in Western Sydney, which is Labor and Tele heartland. Asked what he thought about the story, he said it was a beat-up, and he then posed a question.
Why is it that day after day after day, whether it's the Daily Telegraph or the other papers Mr Murdoch owns right across Australia, the Courier Mail, the Herald Sun, the Adelaide Advertiser, Hobart Mercury, and the Sunday equivalents of those papers in every capital in the country, owned by Mr Murdoch, why is it that they are constantly taking a club to our government and not putting Mr Abbott under 1 minute scrutiny? And the answer for that's pretty simple. Mr Murdoch wants Mr Abbott to be the Prime Minister.
Now, we're not sure whether that charge can really be levelled at all Murdoch's newspapers. But Rupert's journalists can be in no doubt about how to please their boss. Only last week, he was tweeting,
Conviction politicians, hard to find anywhere. Australia's Tony Abbott, rare exception. Opponent Rudd, all over the place convincing nobody.
So let's look at the Telegraph in a little more detail, because there is absolutely no doubt about its bias in this election. In the first week of the campaign, we tallied the Tele's coverage and found that exactly half its 80 political stories were slanted against Labor, while none were against the coalition. In the last 2 weeks, the result is even clearer. Out of 107 stories, 59, in our opinion, are quite clearly anti-Labor, while just 4 are anti the coalition. Only 3 of the Tele's stories are pro-Labor, while 19 are pro the coalition, and the rest are neutral. Looking through the pages, it's also clear that it's not policies or performance that Murdoch's paper is attacking. It's Rudd himself, whom they paint as a psychopath, a narcissist, a bore, and a cheat, and a great deal more.
Stop the notes! PM accused of breaking rules in debate.
Does this guy ever shut up? Stopwatch shows Rudd hogged Mike.
Some of the negative stories, like those one-sided reactions to the 2 debates, at least have some foundation. Others are triumphs of invention, like these 3 shocking beat-ups.
Could this be Kevin's underarm moment? Trevor Chappell's underarm ball. Rudbo! Kev tells tales of his time on the front line. Cranky PM seeks Labor safe haven.
All these stories, which carry the byline of the Tele's political reporter Gemma Jones, make the Prime Minister look angry, dishonest, or not to be trusted. The Rudbo story accused him of trying to
cover himself in the reflected glory of the nation's troops.
The evidence for this claim? He told a group of soldiers in Townsville that he'd been to Afghanistan 5 times and twice been outside the wire. The Trevor Chappell underarm story relied on reports that Rudd had insulted lawn bowlers at a club in northern New South Wales by not using them for a photo shoot. Yes, really. And the cranky PM story, which accused Rudd of being negative, angry and lashing out, well, let's get the Tele to explain that one for us.
Our testy Kevin Rudd yesterday said his People's Forum preparation involved talking to real people. Then he left to go to a barbecue at the home of a Labor Party member.
Yes, believe it or not, that was the story. And yesterday the Sunday Telegraph followed up with more of the same, only this time they splashed it on the front page.
Rudd's Kitchen Rules. Exclusive. PM suspends campaign for Syria talks but finds time to star in TV cooking show.
Once again, the line was that Kevin is a big noter who can't be trusted.
He started the day with the sombre announcement that the campaign had been suspended so he could focus on urgent talks about the Syria crisis. What the Prime Minister didn't say was he had his taxpayer-funded VIP jet waiting so he could fly home to Brisbane for the afternoon to appear on a cooking show, the ABC's Kitchen Cabinet.
Rudd did go to a briefing on Syria that evening, and Tony Abbott has taken time out of his campaign to appear on Kitchen Cabinet too. Yet once again the Tele managed to cook this morsel into the dish of the day. And the other Murdoch tabloids happily turned on the gas, with Melbourne's Sunday Herald Sun, Adelaide's Sunday Mail, Perth's Sunday Times and Brisbane's Sunday Mail all joining the roast.
He's cooked his goose. He wasn't saving Syria, he was slaving in the kitchen.
Not surprisingly, on the Telegraph's Facebook page last week, there has been scorn by the bucket load.
You idiots would do anything for a story.
The Daily Telegraph isn't good enough to put on the bottom of my bird cages or the cat's litter box.
Now, whether this campaign will damage Rudd at the ballot box is open to debate. But the PM's popularity has plummeted since the campaign began, and the Tele's intentions are certainly clear. Back in April, News Limited, as it was then, told advertisers that the Telegraph's readers are
the people who decide federal elections.
We have not got time to tell you in detail what the other Murdoch papers are doing. They're not as bad as the Tele. But Melbourne's Herald-Sun has had its moments.
What a crock!
Rudd's road to nowhere.
And Brisbane's Courier-Mail has at times tracked the Tele.
Cheat Rudd ties himself in notes.
Does this guy ever shut up?
The Courier-Mail has also tucked into the Prime Minister for getting fat.
He clearly enjoys a good pie, and a cheese platter and a pizza. But it looks like Prime Minister Kevin Rudd may have enjoyed a few too many in recent weeks.
And, of course, the Australian has also been there to put the boot in through its columnist, Janet Albrechtsen.
Voters are waking up to the real Rudd. The seemingly sunny PM has some disturbing personality traits.
Of course, why didn't we see it before? He's a serial killer and a cannibal to boot. Almost 50 years ago, Rupert Murdoch was asked by the ABC if he enjoyed running a newspaper empire and telling his editors what to do.
Do you like the feeling of power you had as a newspaper proprietor, of being able to sort of formulate policies for a large number of newspapers in every state of Australia?
Well, there's only one honest answer to that, of course, and that's yes. Of course one enjoys the feeling of power.
In that same programme, Murdoch volunteered his views on press freedom, and he was very clear about what was needed in Australia to ensure that freedom was preserved.
I think the important thing is that there'd be plenty of newspapers with plenty of different people controlling them, so that there's a variety of viewpoint, that there's a choice for the public. This is the freedom of the press that is needed. Freedom of the press mustn't be one-sided just for a publisher to speak as he pleases and try and bully the community.
Shall we just hear that again? Freedom of the press must not just be one-sided for a publisher to speak as he pleases, to try and bully the community. I couldn't have put that better myself. And if you want more on this theme, you will find plenty more on our website. But for now, that's all from us. Goodbye.